Hey guys, I'm Ben with Sputter Up and I'm here to talk to you about the 4 weapon safety rules. Now these safety rules are universal. They apply to any firearm you may use, and while there are rules that can change depending on the range you're at, the environment you're in, or the organization you're a part of, these rules apply with every interaction you have with a firearm. So the first safety rule is treat every weapon as if it were loaded. That means that regardless of whether there's a mag in the gun or out of the gun, whether or not you've seen somebody clear the gun out, and whether you yourself have cleared the gun out, you always treat it like it's loaded. The reason we do this is because humans make mistakes. And if you use this weapon without treating it like it's loaded, you could end up having a very serious mistake that could ruin your life and others around you. Second safety rule is never point your weapon at anything you don't intend to shoot. This kind of goes off of the first one, but it goes a little bit further because we always want to make sure that where the muzzle is pointing is in a safe direction. I'm in my basement downstairs. If the gun goes off, it's going to go into drywall, into concrete, and into a dirt wall. That's not a big deal. If there's somebody standing in front of the gun or behind this wall, that can be a bigger deal. So you always want to point the weapon at somewhere safe. Your third safety rule is keep your finger straight and off the trigger until you intend to fire. The reason I don't just say keep your finger off the trigger is because your finger can be like this and it is still off the trigger. The problem with that is if you trip, if you clench, or if you just unconsciously start to tighten your hand, that gun can go off and that can be a huge problem. So we keep our fingers straight and off the trigger. A friend of mine, Chris Hill, even teaches to keep your finger up on the slide, not just down the frame. The reason he teaches that is because your finger's up here, even if you clench, you're not coming into contact with the trigger. If my finger's down here along the trigger guard or along the frame, I can come in and still hit the trigger. You don't have to do that, but it's just another measure of safety, and I've actually started using it myself, and it works out really well. The fourth and final rule is know your target, what lies beyond it, and what lies in front of it. So knowing your target, first of all, if you hear a bump in the night or something, you go to investigate, you want to make sure that if you need to shoot something, you know what you're shooting. It could be a family member in your house that you didn't expect. It could be somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend. Always know what you're shooting at. This also goes into knowing if you're shooting a paper target, know what's beyond the target. So bullets go through things. Even if you're shooting something relatively solid, you want to know where that bullet may go after it goes through the target. So if you have a clear shot on something, but there's something very precious behind it or something that you do not want to lose behind it, you need to make sure you move to a position where you have a clear shot. This is also true if you're in a home invasion situation and you need to shoot somebody that's invading your house. What's beyond that person? Do you have family members back there? Is somebody else's room back there? Is that drywall really going to stop a bullet traveling at over 1,000 feet per second? Probably not. So you want to make sure, again, you have a clear shot beyond what you're shooting at. You also want to know what's in front of your target because bullets do not travel in straight lines. They have a trajectory, and that is not always lined up perfectly with your sights. Your sights sit a little bit higher, so the bullet's path and your line of sight are going to be slightly different. You make sure that both of those paths are clear. So these 4 rules are pretty simple. They're very straightforward, but you need to be mindful and conscious of them at all times. Eventually they can become subconscious, but you always need to be diligent about ensuring you are not violating these rules.